What's going on, everybody? It's Brandon here at the Esports Company, and I'm here to go over Week 6 of Division 1 and Division 2 Overwatch play. First, a Division 1 matchup between Greater Johnstown and Richland High School. We're going to look at the play of the game from Cherry Bloom as Roadhog. Roadhog, get over here! Getting out of the way of the big ball. Just playing it all out in the line. Dishing damage out left and right. Flying in the air, doesn't matter. Johnstown's going to take the best of 3 series. 2-0 over Richland. Moving on, Division 1 play against Forest Hills and Somerset. We're looking at the team here, but it's all about the play of the game by Devo16. Here we go, let's see what happens. Devo's flying around, dishing out damage left and right. It doesn't matter if you're the big guy or not. Boom! Shakalaka! Flying around, dishing it out. It doesn't matter. Forest Hills is going to take it. 2-1 over Somerset thanks to Devo16. On to our final Division 1 matchup between West Branch and the Everett Area Warriors. We're looking at DPS Diff playing as Hanzo. Hanzo's got the bow out, and they're ready to sling it around. 1, 2. It doesn't matter if you're the big guy or not. Here's another one down. Flying around, I'll still get you. Dotted up. Unreal, another one. That's 3 down in the play of the game right there. West Branch is going to take it 2-0 over Everett in the best of 3. And DPS Diff with an absolute showcase with 25.5 eliminations. Moving on to some Division 2 play. We got Moshannon Valley versus Ferndale. Let's see what the Knights cooked up. MV Esports 4. Whoa, they got out the big guns for this one. We're looking at an aerial view of all the chaos that's happening. It doesn't matter who stands in their way. Pang! Right in the kisser. Ferndale's going to take it 2-0 over Moshannon Valley. Moving on to some Division 2 play, we have West Branch versus Salisbury Elklick. And right now we're going to check out a play of the game from Toby XDZ. It's Bastion. Bastion has a superpower of getting out the big guns and just laying it all out there. It doesn't matter who stands in their way. They're not going to be standing there much longer. Moving on to Division 2, we got West Branch versus Salisbury Elklick. And we're about to check out the play of the game from Toby XDZ playing as Bastion. And Bastion has the ability to bring out the big guns. It doesn't matter who stands in their way because they're not going to be standing much longer. But letting it all loose. It doesn't matter. No mercy. West Branch is going to take it 2-0 over Salisbury. Finally, rounding out Division 2 play, we got Greater Johnstown versus the Gateway Gators. And we're going to check out the play of the match by Logan Plays 33 as Junkrat. Here we see Logan Plays firing away, doing their thing. Do we get to see the rip tire? Maybe, maybe not. Gateway Gators are going to take it 2-0 over Greater Johnstown. Looking at our standings after Week 6 of Overwatch play, over on the Division 1 side, we have a 3-way tie in first, with Winburn, West Branch, and Greater Johnstown all sitting at 4-0. Hollidaysburg sitting at 3-1. Shade Central sitting at 2-1. Ferndale, Forest Hills sitting at 2-2. Everett sitting at 1-3. Richland at 0-4. And Somerset rounding it out at 0-5. Over on the Division 2 side, we have Forest Hills and the Gateway Gators sitting at 5-0 at the top of the standings. Next, we have Moshannon Valley, West Branch, and Greater Johnstown all sitting at 3-2. Shade Central at 2-3. Richland and Ferndale at 1-4, and Salisbury Elklick sitting at 0-5.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TEC High School Series again. This is the Overwatch portion of this, and we're back. It's me, Joker's Ransom, and him, Lord Thief, and we're excited to bring you a series of 3 games today.
Excited is but one of many words that we could be using for how I feel about today, how we feel about today, Joker. I think I say this every week, but Wednesday is always the highlight of my week, getting to watch some of this high school level Overwatch gameplay. It's always surprising to me to see these moments of creativity, ingenuity, and as well see a lot of hard work paying off. And I think that's going to be a little bit of the narrative that we have going on today, Joker. A couple of very I guess it'd be a few very interesting matchups. Not the 4 that we would like, but 3 very good ones nonetheless. Taking a look at the schedule today, we'll have Shade Central going up against Forest Hills first. After that concludes, we'll be able to move on to the West Branch versus Ferndale game. And to finish off the evening, Greater Johnstown Trojans versus Shade Central, which I think that this is a reschedule of a previous matchup. So going to be very fun to see potentially... I guess not potentially, but rather see the Shade crew play 2 games today. That's going to be quite the sample size for you and me to work with, Joker.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see how Shade does today. We saw them previously. They beat one of the top teams. They beat Hollidaysburg earlier on in the season, and now they're going against another top team later tonight. Greater Johnstown versus Shade Central is going to be a very hyped up match, but we first see them against Forest Hills here. Let's take a look at that standing. Why we're seeing 2 games of Shade Central. They've only played 3 games so far, so they're missing out on the one more than the rest of everyone, and 2 less than Somerset. But they're going against the 2-2 Forest Hills squad, who is looking to overcome this 500 record.
Forest Hills want to give themselves a positive streak here in Division 1, especially now that we've hit week 6, right? So we're later into the season. So Forest Hills is going to be, as I talk about, seeing the manifest of hard work. Forest Hills is going to demonstrate that for us today. We're going to get to see how their hard work behind the scenes will pay off in a matchup against a team like Shade Central, which, because of them only having played 3 games, we really haven't seen enough of. So I think that we're going to get to some really good indications of the kinds of energies, play styles, composition, strategies that we'll end up seeing employed in the playoffs for the high school series. I think we'll start getting previews of that today, especially in the matchup between these first 2 teams. You also mentioned, Joker, that eventually we'll be able to watch Greater Johnstown play against Shade, and that is also going to be a very interesting matchup. We're going to get to see, what happens when either one of these teams really gets their backs pushed against the wall. How we see them fight like a cornered beast, as Ramatra would say. And that's one of the heroes I'm looking forward to seeing, especially considering the map pool that we have for today. We'll be starting off on Antarctic Peninsula. From there, moving on to Route 66, and then that mythical 3rd map, the push game mode New Queen Street. All maps that may not be the absolute best for Ramatra, but are good for those brawly compositions, especially this first one. We'll be jumping into Antarctic Peninsula here in a couple of moments, Joker.
Yeah, and you were talking about map pools. We've been cooking something up, Lord Thief, and we've been cooking something up for playoffs coming up. I'm excited when that comes out to see the map pool that me and you decided on. I think we did a pretty good job. Hopefully, the competitors and everyone else alike likes our map pool that's coming out in the future. But this isn't our doing. This is everything to do with the TEC. But I do like this, and it's going to be our first time seeing Route 66, which is good because, spoiler, we did put that in our playoff map pool. So it's good that these teams are going to be able to get a look at Route 66, especially a couple of these teams that are slated for a deep playoff run.
Oh, and maybe we would also see in playoffs. The new character, which JP Boma had locked in very momentarily there, Life Weaver. We'll get plenty of opportunities to talk about that. Force Skills on this Rush Brawl composition with Mantras, the here Icy here, Shade Central as they run out on their own brawly, but also kind of pokey composition here.
Yeah, we're not expecting to see some Life Weaver, but hey, if it's a not close game, maybe we'll see it. That's the only time I really expect to see a Life Weaver coming out, because it came into the game yesterday. So I don't believe these teams are going to have the most practice on it at the moment. And hey, right now they're practiced on this Ramatra comp, and they're working their magic. Still, these two teams waiting to push the objective. Finally, Shade Central have decided to go on to the point and try to come in here, and it's going to be Shade Central to get that first touch of the point early on, and they're going to be able to get this capture percentage accruing.
Oh yeah, it was a very brief step off there from Vang, able to step right back on, but by this point the objective has been captured. Look at how close Spots is to this ultimate as well, so even despite Shade losing a note on the Bastion there, you've got ultimates now, the duplicate Annihilation coming into play.
Yeah, they're going to start things off. There's the duplicate out from Spots, but not going to be able to build up to that Annihilation, which I feel like it's a very difficult ult to build up with on Echo, but hey, it's still very good. That point presence that was there allowed Shade Central to stabilize without the Bastion, like you were saying. Now they're back looking to continue. Now the Valkyrie coming in from Roman Noodles, trying to get that extra bit of healing, that extra bit of damage, but hey, you almost lose your life there, but it's still Shade Central with this absolute point presence. They've got the sound barrier now from Forest Hills. They got this Blizzard available. This has to be the time that Forest Hills take back the point, and it seems to be the case.
Yes, and maybe it's a little bit too early to step off the objective there from Shade Central. You've got Icy looking to run back in. Needless to say, Forest Hills capturing the objective is really important, even if it means that they've now sacrificed themselves to the Annihilate from Icy, claiming one and then two, looking for a third, might find it barely sustained by the Coalescence deployed by Usurper Draco there. And now with the expenditure of all of the ults that remained in that first ultimate cycle, Shade Central secures the objective. It's 70% in building here, Joker, which is looking a little bit dreary for Forest Hills. Still, they have 3 ultimates in the bank to try and retake this point, but they're coming up into last teamfight territory.
Yeah, like you said, they've got 3 ultimates on the board here, Lord Ethan, but they've got to act quickly because, like you said, this is the last fight right now, and they're still just vying to get in to the point.
Spot's still doing so much work here on the Echo, coming up on another duplicate. If they are able to build an Annihilate here for this fight, that's so important, and they do duplicate the ROM.
Yeah, especially seeing not equal go super loud. Okay.
Oh, wait, you got a touch.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate there. Someone wasn't paying attention as Shade Central take round number 1.
Yeah, really, honestly, it was a really nice formation that Shade Central had there on the objective. They got the shield up, they have a duplicate ROM, so you've got a backup shield, you've got backup arms, right? Now 4 arms to put up to block damage instead of simply 2. And I think that's what, like 90% damage mitigation when you block with your arms as Ramatra. So, I mean, at that point, you're not doing any damage if you're Forest Hills to either of those 2 targets. You can't really look at the Bastion because he's an assault configuration, and you don't dare push into that. And then as well, in the hectic fray of a team fight breaking out, you struggle to communicate with the team who's got first touch, who has second touch, who has third, right? And I think that's the situation Forest Hills found themselves in there. Both teams are really going to stay on the identities of these compositions. So now that both teams have had an opportunity to warm up a little bit, get those comms sorted out, I think that now is when the matchup becomes a little bit more intensely competitive.
Yeah, as they're going to be a 1-for-1 trade here, but hey, it's going to work out in favor. No, still not in favor of anyone just yet, but it's looking good now for Shade Central. Spots able to take out Bloodhound. They're going to get the res as well on the not EQO as Devo swapping over to the Hanzo now.
I actually like the Hanzo pick with this composition. You have so much pick-off potential between Devo and Bloodhound on the Hanzo Sojourn, especially if Bloodhound is able to really get those charge shots super quickly. No ultimates on either side. These fights have been so mild compared to the first objective, that first round. Forest Hills, they're going to struggle a little bit finding an opening. It's this map is so advantageous for whoever is holding the objective. So, you know, I think honestly what I'd love to see here from Forest Hills is for them to just amp speed, feed in, and see if you can crack open this defense.
Yeah, as they're trying to take out Not EQO, super low right now, still not going to be able to get the shots necessary for them to find that opening. And now Icy with this Nemesis form, gonna go down even during all that damage mitigation that they were using with their block for the moment. But hey, there's still anyone's point at the moment. They have their another Ramatra on the point thanks to Spots' duplicate, but it's looking rough for Shade Central at the moment. They're still going to try to win this though. They've got the Coalescence out, but they've lost them now as the Annihilation comes in from both the duplicate and the real one. Vang showing who's superior in that matchup, finding the picks coming through on their Annihilation.
Yeah, that's a good fight for Forest Hills. They capture the point at pretty good progress. Not EQO ends up using the artillery configuration, which is a little bit interesting. Doesn't quite get any value yet, and it looks like the value is going to be hard to follow up on. Icy standing tenuously in front of the amplification matrix, proccing the Annihilate was you know, another risk. I think that was a really good energy though from Shade Central. You look at all these ultimates that you honestly. Not to not mince words, rather, just kind of went into the dumpster, right? But Shade Central saw an opportunity to use their ultimates, and we see now swaps coming in, but to use their ultimates to see if they could make something happen there. And I really like that. It doesn't get the value, but we're taking risks, and that's so important for these high school teams.
Ooh, and a nice risk comes through, and well, with the Dragon Strike taking Not EQO out. That's going to buy them more time, but hey, now they use that res. That's not available for this late fight as Icy over the Diva trying to mitigate this damage coming through, and hey, it's working out well. Devo's now gone, but Vang and Bloodhound have found 3 of their own to try to turn it back, and now losing the mech as well. It's not looking that good for Shade Central at the moment.
No, Forest Hills has equalized objective progress. They're going to reach completion here shortly. I actually want to comment on the Icy Diva. I think it's actually a really good pick on pen and paper, not really the best matchup into Ramatra. But at that point, if the rest of Shade can deal with Vang, then Icy can deal with pretty much everything else, especially if Ramatra isn't in that Nemesis form. Icy's going to be very free. So let's see how they start this fight with the tire, see what value comes off of that.
Yeah, the Riptire coming out. They're looking for something, anything, and they find it at the 11th hour of the Riptire. Spots finds 2 in the 11th hour of the point. Shade Central take it back.
Joker, I was sitting there like, I was holding my breath.
I didn't think it was going to do it. I didn't think it was going to get anything.
It was rolling around for so long. Spot's got the moves and the jukes for days, man. Forest Hills wasn't able to find an opening onto that tire, and now they put themselves into dangerous territory. Icy with the self-destruct, and Roman with the movement with Valkyrie, Revive on standby. Not EQO coming up on another artillery config, and not a touch to be found here from Forest Hills, concluding map 1 possibly. A dash onto the point, the Annihilate in play as well.
Yeah, it's gonna work out well, but everyone on Forest Hills is so low, and the Coalescence from Usurper Draco is just gonna wrap everything up for Shade Central as they take map number 1 in a 2-0 fashion.
Oh, if we go to caster cams, you guys will see me stretching, because I know that this is gonna be a good series, and I gotta catch my breath, because I got lightheaded there, Joker, watching how close that last fight was. Like I said, holding my breath, watching Vang go for the Annihilate and just getting absolutely schmelted, and reading the kill feed, watching Usurper Draco really pop off there was a rewarding experience. I have actually, you know, for Antarctic Peninsula, I've started to not like certain maps and not like certain areas of the map compared to my initial optimism for that control point. But that's as a player. As a spectator, I love what I saw from both teams on Antarctic Peninsula, and I'm looking forward to very similar very similar matchups on Route 66. That war of attrition, war of sustain, the pickoff potential, the ultimate cycles and efficiency. That is, using your ults, trying to make something happen, taking risks, and then swapping so that you're not. So that those ults aren't going completely to waste. I think that there's a lot of good things we got to see there on Antarctic Peninsula, and we only get to see more from here.
Yeah, and this is the first time I'm, at least myself, is seeing Route 66 in a long while, and I'm very excited to see how these two teams have adapted it to Overwatch 2 here. It's going to be definitely an interesting take, especially without that second tank. Are they going to go with a Sigma-based comp, or are they just going to go try to run dive here? That's really the question. We haven't seen it since maybe Season 2. I don't remember the map pools of things, so I wouldn't know.
Actually, no, you're right. You're right. Season 2 is when Route 66 got removed from the map pool, so it's been a minute since we've seen this map, Joker.
So, I mean, it's not been around since the beta and Season 1, so...
The end of December.
Yeah, so it's gonna...
Sorry, the beginning of December.
So, I mean, the game's changed quite a bit here, Lord Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you mentioned the Sigma, because Sigma has the player base has come around to Sigma just being a really good tank in general. Sigma isn't one of the OG tank characters for Overwatch 1, but coming into Overwatch 2, Sigma's kind of that certified poke tank classic, kind of the way that Rhine was that certified brawl tank classic, right? So you mentioned the Sigma. Route 66 is a great map for Sigma. It's still actually a good map for ROM, insofar as it is also a good map for Sigma. You've got some good brawl potential, good poke potential, and as well, if one of the teams wants to run Sigma because he is good on Route 66, then you're going to have a favorable matchup if you lock the ROM. Because you lock the ROM in anticipation of Sigma, there might be another ROM mirror, especially considering the proficiency from Icy and Vang both on that titular Omnic tank hero, or villain, perhaps. Can't wait for the PvE and Ramatra lore to finally drop, but I guess that's neither here nor there, Joker. There's a lot that we can anticipate for Route 66 as well. In addition to the ROMs or the Sigma, those dive tanks, Winston, Diva, we can also anticipate some of these sniper characters, Widow, Hanzo, Sojourn, maybe Ashe or Cassidy, although Cassidy in a weakened state might be favored less a little bit in comparison to Soldier, which works well with Mercy, which we know, Roman Noodles plays a mean Mercy, and with buffs coming into from Moira for pretty silly reasons, there's quite a bit of flexibility in the backlines that you can run. So all that to say, Joker, there's all kinds of things we can see here on Route 66. I'm excited for what these teams run out on. But what I'm really interested in is to see how these teams adapt over the course of the map. At this point, both teams have to realize that that these players are going to play into their matchups, right? So again, going back to if someone locks Sig, you're going to have a tank want to play ROM and then just run that tank down. So the tank's going to have to swap, or the DPS will have to swap, the supports will have to swap. So I'm excited to see what compositional adaptations really come in for both of these teams on a map as versatile as Route 66.
Yeah, as I'm just waiting, I believe, for the readies from Shade Central to get us into this game here, and I believe, well, that was the ready from Flip Stingray, who's the coach of Forest Hills now. Okay, perfect. So we're all ready to go into the game now, Lord Ethan.
I'm not ready, Joker. I was anticipating some pretty great games today, but again, off of a fantastic round one between both these teams. Even if it was a 2-0 against Forest Hills, I really think that Route 66 gives us a lot to work with as far as how this narrative ends up unfolding, as well as again maybe some hints about what we can see in the playoffs. For now, we'll be entering Route 66. Shade Central, I believe, will be opting or starting here on the defense with Forest Hills commencing their attack. Unsurprised to see Vang and Icy on that ROM mirror again. You've got not EQ on the Bastion, Spots on that Soldier 76. So Roman, kind of playing so very flexibly and well with Spots there on Antarctic Peninsula with the Mercy Echo. You're going to see more of that synergy displayed by the Soldier Mercy. And of course, Usurper going to do Usurper things on the Moira. For Forest Hills, they're running very textbook Brawl Rush kind of style composition with, again, Ramatra as the tip of the spear here. All I want to see from them is uninhibited aggression.
So, this is the first time I'm seeing Cassidy without that 225 HP, which is kind of fantastic because I don't know if it was with you or someone else, but I saw the roll damage mitigation that stopped a pulse bomb previously, and I was like, that shouldn't be in the game, but hey, what's still in the game is Ramatra, and that's gonna work out well starting off, but hey, and that Cassidy is still 200 HP, but still doing damage, working out well for both of these two teams, but it's looking, wait, they did! JB Bommel did boop Icy off the map, and they don't have the res available. But I don't even know. Can you res someone that's been booped off the map? But hey, they might want to get Spots back into the game here with Bloodhound finding that shot onto him. The Shade Central have to retreat.
Yeah, they're going to have to back up here. It's really unfortunate to have lost Icy there, especially considering that the pick onto Vang had almost been secured. You saw maybe how low Vang had dropped there under the pressure from Spots, who's rejoined the battle. Does walk away with the pick onto Devo, but by this point, Forest Hills has won this consecutive fight, found that second elimination onto Icy, and despite the pressure from Spots, you're going to have Forest Hills moving back on the objective to get some progress here. I like Spots in the backline here, but it's definitely a risk that they're taking. Caught out with the sonar. Looks like they will escape.
Yeah, they're trying to escape, still trying to pump in damage as well, and they might have bought them enough time here as well to get that contest, and they're going to get the contest. They've got the Orisa swap as well, but they've already lost not EQO and Usurper Draco, so it's going to be very, almost impossible, and it is impossible in the end. Spots is going to use the Tactical Visor, though, and get the sound barrier out of JB Bommel, which is going to be huge for the later runs.
But by this point, the cart has already reached its capture, just moments before the Tactical Visor ended up getting procced. So, again, maybe we're looking at a similar miscommunication that happened for Forest Hills on Antarctic Peninsula, where, we're just unsure of who's going to touch, because it's not fun to be the first one to touch in a situation like that, because you're always going to be the one who possibly, or is at greatest risk to die first. Now, dying first this fight is going to be Usurper, quickly traded out with Bloodhound, revived back into the fray of battle, which means Shade Central have full strength here for this next defense.
Yeah, as Spots finding that nice shot with the Helix Rockets, forcing back Forest Hills for the time being. They still have the advantage, but no longer. I was talking about the ultimate advantage, but losing Brain Drain as well is going to make that full reset come in for Forest Hills.
I actually thought to myself that I should have mentioned something about ultimates there, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because ultimates weren't going to come out that fight from Forest Hills after losing, I believe it was Bloodhound early and then Devo quickly afterwards. The rest of Forest Hills says, yeah, it's all right to back up and reset, save what we've got, and prepare for the next fight. Down a man once again here, but with 4 ultimates in the bank. I want to see Forest Hills push out here. I want to see aggression, but they're playing into a Valkyrie and a tank configuration, as well as a couple of other ultimates. It's going to be challenging to break out of one of these 2 chokes.
You know what I would really love to have right now? The sound barrier. But they had to use it. They used it in that previous fight, and now they don't have that, and they're going to be forced back yet again thanks to the artillery configuration coming in from not EQO and forcing them back, and now they still have 4 ultimates. They don't have the Deadeye any longer, so it's going to be still difficult to push through this at the moment, as they're still looking for a shot coming in. There's the Annihilation coming in from Vang. That's going to open things up. That's going to deny anything coming in from Shade Central.
Nice picks from Forest Hills there. It's a good fight. A little bit tenuous as far as the setup phase, but ends up being very doable there for the attackers as they make another second phase here on this second point. Icy walking with a pick after the Terror Surge, but sacrificing Roman means that the defense here for Shade is going to start suffering as the fight draws out.
Yeah, as Spots finds Devo back in this fight, and they haven't really made any progress that you would have liked to, as a nice javelin throw comes in and gets Vang at a disadvantaged place, and Spots is going to be able to follow it up.
Spots on the Soldier 76 is just absolutely crazy, and this is a little bit of what we're seeing. It's a little bit too early to tell, but Soldier has come up as a really good hit scan now that Cassidy has been brought back a little bit in line. So even though Devo has increased range, they don't have the health that they used to, the 225 HP compared to 200 now, and that means that Spots actually has a lower TTK against Cassidy than he used to as Soldier, especially with this damage amp. We've got 2 ultimates here to work with for Forest Hills against the 1 Coalescence from Usurper, which is probably going to get used this fight, but as the Dragons end up being deployed, they're canceled by Spots.
Yeah, as they're going to come in. Spots is in the back line. It's just almost like an attacker themselves. And they're just raining the damage in from behind. They're not even looking at it. And now the sound mirror is going to come out. Vang finds Usurper Draco. And now the tide has been tide has changed in the favor of Forest Hills. But not for much longer because, well, Shade Central able to find all the picks they need.
Yeah, all the important ones in as well. Get that sound barrier out, right? It's a worthy sound barrier to drop insofar as Forest Hills wanted to stay engaged. They wanted to stay fighting, but it's also very beneficial for Shade Central for Forest Hills to not have that ultimate for this last fight. Forest Hills does still have the Deadeye. There's its application.
Yeah, as they're going to come in here with that Annihilation, but the Terror Surge finds equal to more value for the side of Shade Central, as Icy finds 3 in that fight as the overtime bar ticks away as Shade Central hold out on second point.
I mean, that was a really good hold of the second objective. I mentioned very briefly kind of a possible fumble in communication, or it might have just been, chalk it up to Forest Hills playing that first point extremely well, right? But Shade Central had really good presence to kind of bounce back from a rougher first point, and find that second point stabilization, especially around this kind of first corner of the high side shack here on second point. That's an important place for Cart to stop because that's a very attainable position for attackers. So for Forest Hills, they've got their work cut out for them. A full hold on first point is ideal here. Still workable if there's a low enough time bank on the second point. For Shade Central, the win condition is quite clear. Push as far as we let them push, and again on this composition with the damage amp and Icy's aggression with not EQO on the Bastion and Usurper again just kind of doing Usurper things. You're looking at some very straightforward win conditions.
They really are, and right now we're just waiting to see if Shade Central can live up to their defense as they're loading out. No real swaps, but Spots over to the Symmetra to start things off. Maybe just for the teleport? No, they're going to stick with it.
I mean, Sim is still going to be pretty good at... not sure what EQO's plan was there, walking backwards, possibly generating ultimate for the supports, but not quite the hero to do it on. Interestingly enough, Vang is on the Sigma. I was going to mention, Spots Symmetra is going to be effective against Ramatra, but possibly even more so against the Sigma. Spots is already up there, TPing onto the high ground, placing turrets, and already getting 40% ultimate charge.
Yeah, as a lot of people on Forest Hills right now are super low, but hey, they're still finding picks, which is, it's still good, as they are going to be able to continue this holdout for the time being.
I see staying in here as well as both of the Utils deployed, arms coming up. Blocking, leaving. Yep, that's the spirit. Bloodhound finding 2. You definitely want to back off from that, reset with the rest of the team if you are Shade Central. Even despite Spots getting quite a bit of ultimate charge there on Sim, we're still going to see the swap from them onto Reaper and then onto Hanzo, and kind of wild to me still that you get ultimate retention on swaps. Spots is able to get 25 free ult charge on Hanzo, which is a very ultimate efficient swap to make here.
Yeah, as they're going to now try to open things up, and hey, look at that, an opening coming in from the Hanzo swap, just like you were talking about there, Lord Thethan, and now they're able to take away this high ground with the Nemesis form, just pumping in the damage with the pummels. You're not able to eat that damage up there, Vang, as they're forced back, and as Shade Central open up the point.
Oh, yeah, and you're possibly looking at a capture here as well. Now, Forest Hills, if they're able to come back to this point in time, they've got a whole host of abilities to help them take it, or rather stabilize here. But that's looking unlikely. Not only do they not have the time to touch, but they wouldn't have the time to set up, more importantly, which means a very harrowing fight, especially one where ultimates are going to be exchanged. Like Forest Hills, it's a really great presence of mind to say, let's give up first point so that we make sure we can play the cleanest possible second point. And that's a great framework to set yourself up for success there. Now that we have the plan, we need the execution. How does Forest Hills want to use these potentially 4 ultimates?
Yeah, they have their ultimates to use, but they're going to start things off with 2 ultimates from Forest Hills. That's a pick 'em up, set 'em down right into the Dragon Strike of D.Va, but only finding 1 pick. Not really beneficial to using those ultimates because, hey, Spots has come back with a pick of their own without needing an ultimate.
Spots has also marked Bloodhound here with Brain Drain on the Mercy. Forces them off of this angle. It does necessitate the use of the Disruption shot, but you're not seeing pickoffs here, and this is a critical stage in the fight to get those picks. Yes! Bloodhound walks away with the pick onto Roman Noodles. That is going to cripple the attack here for Shade Central.
Yeah, but now Icy's going to be trying to change it with the tide of their own, as they've got 2 picks now, JD Bommel and Bloodhound, the 2 ultimate bearers for Forest Hills, now gone as the annihilation comes through from Icy, maybe wrapping things up. Vang trying to do something, anything, throwing the kitchen sink at them is not going to work in the end, as Shade Central take the map in the end and take the series in a 2-0 fashion.
Whew. Shade Central a lot less crippled than I thought they were going to be. Kind of saw that playing out in a way not so different from my solo queue ranked games, but that's a demonstration of exactly why Shade Central is kind of come around late in the season in the TEC High School Series to show us that that they are absolutely a team worth beating here. First with that pick, with that win, I think you mentioned onto Holidaysburg. I think that was the week I was gone, Joker.
Yes, it was.
And then now onto Forest Hills as well. Shade Central going to be very exciting to see how they play against the number 3 seed. It's actually really tied for first seed, the Greater Johnstown Trojans, later this afternoon.
Well, we do have another matchup in between this. We've got another top seed coming in after this break. Winber versus Ferndale. So don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss more Overwatch action right after this. Welcome back, everyone. It is time for our next matchup of the afternoon. We've got West Branch versus Ferndale, and I'm excited to see this one come through. It's another top team in our TEC High School Series in the side of West Branch, and I feel like I haven't seen them in a while, and I'm excited to see them again.
Yeah, and actually for West Branch, we'll have a couple of players that that I either haven't seen before or haven't seen as much of. So going to be a slightly iterated look here for the higher seeded team. I'm very interested to see how Ferndale is going to play this matchup. Obviously, West Branch at the number 2 seed, or tied for first, really, is going to be quite the opponent to overcome. So for Ferndale, I'm really looking to just see some really excellent fundamentals that possibly help them to start with one fight win, and then one round win, and then one map win, and then go from there, right? And eventually take the series. I think I've spoken previously about compartmentalizing goals and how important that is in the context of organized Overwatch team play. Kind of hard to do that when you've got so many. Oh, those are my dogs in the background. Kind of hard to do that though, Joker, when you're up against a stacked opponent such as West Branch.
Where's the dog cam? That's all we're asking now.
Man, he hates being held.
Oh, boo! My cat loves to be on my lap during casts for some reason, but so she's not here right now because it's kind of hot. So, but. Let's take a look here. Well, we've already seen them, but let's tell people about our first map of the evening. It's Arctic Peninsula, yet again coming out from these for the map pool today, and again it will lend itself to Brawl, but predominantly Ramatra Brawl is what I've been seeing a lot more recently than Reinhardt.
Yeah, part of it is that, Ramatra is just good, or rather even into the matchup. As long as you have support for the Ramatra and a good matchup, a second or third good matchup against the Reinhardt, such as the Bastion and May, which we saw at some of the highest levels of play a couple of weeks ago. Things are going to start phasing out from the Reinhardt-based brawls because he did suffer a slight adjustment into his armor HP. Taking 50 armor HP sounds like not too much on a hero who has, I think, 600 total health, but it does quite a bit for the uptime that Ryan has traditionally been capable of when he has that extra 50 armor HP. I reflect on times in Overwatch 1 where he had that extra health, and it was an absolute game changer. Overwatch 2 isn't much different. So even though Reinhardt is weakening a little bit, he's still good on this map, still provides that structure that these high school teams really like playing around, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him. But I agree, the Ramatra is very good here on Antarctic Peninsula. Needs to say, Joker, we are not disappointed, but a little bit surprised to not see our favorite Null Sector representative on the field from either team.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Matic makes this Doomfist work, especially against the Reinhardt comp we're seeing, especially since we're seeing new Brigida right now. By the way, we didn't really talk about the Brigida changes coming in here, so while we're waiting for this fight to unfold, you're the support player. Let's talk about Brigida.
Yeah, and I played a little bit of her last night, and it's not as oppressive as I think we thought it would be, maybe because Brig players haven't quite figured out how to play with the new rally. 100 restorable armor HP granted instantly, a massive barrier that can stun through shields, just like it did back in the day. A little bit of a menace, but only in that rally, and then we're going to take a little bit of time for that to build up. We'll see if this West Branch squad can clean out this fight here first.
Yeah, in the midst of us talking about Brigida, West Branch came out in a fury, finding every pick they needed. And while you were talking about Brigida's new shield, I definitely saw a noticeable difference when they have that shield up.
Oh yeah, and like I said, it's really just a rally that Brig is a particular menace. She's look at that ball.
Oh my goodness, from the top ropes, indeed. Ball diff coming in well for West Branch. They do lose the other half of the DPS, the diff duo, early on in this fight, and losing Jan Kiwi as well now. Not looking good for West Branch as they're going to have to retreat.
Yeah, Fire Lord is probably... No, they actually get out a little bit cheeky after testing their limits there on that angle. But the game slay is going down, and a trade in Layla Fox play. Things are looking opportunistic for both sides.
It really is, as Matic finds the pick onto Nyan Kiwi after using their Meteor Strike, still able to stay alive. Not gonna have that Brigitte at the moment, and now they have Astro set up on this point with the Bastion. Going to be pumping in so much damage, but Matic is so low, they're going to have to try to get out, but that's not going to be possible as the Coalescence now comes through. That's going to open things up fully for West Branch, finding Astro out. That the Photon Bear might not be enough for them to stabilize, and in the end, no, it is not.
I mean, there's so much damage here that West Branch offers that goes through those barriers. So Gaming Bumble, I wouldn't be surprised to see a swap here, but you know, it was kind of like a, you know, all the ults have come out, so we'll just add one more to the fray and see if that buys us a little bit of time. It did end up buying Ferndale a little bit of time, but that time might be kind of nullified by the fact that we saw the Valkyrie in action there. Now the the artillery config, which doesn't get any picks.
Yeah, as they're going to come in here. Another nice grenade comes in, though, from Astro to try to open things up. Game slays on the Sojourn. Finds out, too, now things are looking a little bit better for West Branch, but Ferndale does get the point back into their favor. The rally is up for Nyan Kiwi. Still not going to be popped just yet, but Matic is off the side of the map as DPS Diff come back from spawn, finds the last two remaining of Ferndale.
And this first map has actually been a lot closer than I thought it was when I saw one team on Brawl and one team on this kind of, I'll say it, solo queue ranked composition. That's what we call a comp like this over at University of Buffalo, and it works for us sometimes, and I'm glad to see it working for Ferndale. This is the culmination of comfort picks and risk taking that we appreciated from the last series, and now we can appreciate about Ferndale.
Yeah, as West Branch are going to be able to hold on to the point. They did give up a decent amount of chunk, though, to Ferndale, who is, again, one of those 2-2 squads looking to overcome the 500 in a positive way. Obviously, they're not looking to lose here, because that would set them up themselves up poorly for the playoffs coming up soon.
There, you know, and again, you know, against an opponent like West Branch, you're going to look as good as the series basically enables you to look, right? So as things start going correctly for Ferndale, and as they capture objective progress like they did in the previous round, as they walk away with picks and have good ultimates, right? You know, that's when they really start to look good against this matchup, and so that's part of why I'm so pleased with that first round, is because, man, there were some moments where Ferndale looked fantastic, but then you've got the rest of the game where West Branch does look better, right? So heading into this next match, you just want to figure out which of those players are doing really well for West Branch, and for Ferndale, the question is how to shut them down. Another question is how we factor in the Life Weaver into this comp.
Now I have to open up my my third monitor here to make sure I'm getting all of these abilities correct, because it's just so new to the game here as Layla Foxplay coming in here. But I believe the Thorn Volley is what the that DPS ability is for Life Weaver. But hey, they didn't really find much DPS as the real DPS diff fighting too.
You know, I'm already happy to see Life Weaver in action here. I definitely am excited for the pull and the pedal plays that are possible off of this hero. It's not a lot of healing that he can actually deal, not a lot of damage that he can deal either, but there's some pretty serious game-breaking playmaking potential here. And that's kind of, you know, you have that with Life Weaver. You also have that with Wrecking Ball. So Matic on this ball pick is going to be very interesting to watch, although I think they just suffered a little bit too much damage to live too long there.
Yeah, and they're gonna lose Layla Foxplay yet again in this fight. They're still trying to make some changes, and I think that is going to be the play. Maddox gonna go over to the Diva now. Still, Layla Foxplay. This Lifeweaver isn't just a random pick. This is definitely what they're attempting to use here.
Oh yeah, and you know, this is a good opportunity to, you know, to do so. Part of what you want to be doing in competitive matchups is limit testing a little bit, and so Layla's going to try and see what they can get away with on this character. You know, if you got the Mercy to sustain the rest of the team as well, to compensate for relatively lower healing output. Ooh, what is Nyan Kiwi doing?
yeah, Kiwi kind of just said, hey, I might be a little bit more tankier now. Let's get in the full of Ferndale there. Still alive, surprisingly, which might be a testament to New Brig, but hey, look at that. The first Lifeweaver kill I've casted comes through from Layla Foxplay as the self-destruct now comes through as well, but it's still West Branch holding out.
Yes, 6 seconds to touch here, and it's looking unlikely for Ferndale to find the clearance that they need to actually connect on the objective. That is the narrative here.
I wanted to see
West
it.
Branch walking away.
They almost had it there. Lord Ethan, Layla Foxplay almost had the Tree of Life available, but unfortunately, it didn't build up in time as West Branch obviously take round number 2 and take map. No, but hey, look at that. That was the pedal.
You like it?
That was pretty cool. And yeah. I actually do need to take a look at Lifeweaver in actual game. And not just casting. That would be probably very beneficial to myself, but I don't know. I just can't make myself open Overwatch at the moment. I don't know what it is.
Fair enough. It's a tough game to play sometimes, but you know, I think I mentioned this before. The thing that I really like about Lifeweaver is the fact that the next support hero, and then after that, the next I think it'll be tank and then DPS hero that we'll be getting after that are going to get to be just as wild and zany, and I think that that's a good state for the game. But Lifeweaver, you know, I got to play him a little bit yesterday, and there's definitely quite the learning curve as far as how to use your abilities with creativity, ingenuity, use them to problem solve as opposed to just to use them. And I'm also coming out with a couple of concerns. Number one being that it's possible that the professional standard of Lifeweaver's playstyle is heal botting, not so different from the way Kiriko was when she was added and played in the Grand Finals of OWL 2023. We'll have to see if that is going to end up being the case. That's one of the reasons I liked watching Layla Fox play on the Lifeweaver, is because they were actually leaning a little bit into the damage, which is what I was trying to do in the games that, well, I did end up losing yesterday, partially because, you know, Lifeweaver can only do so much healing, and so you want to be doing as much of that as you can. But again, the main value comes from the abilities. So, you know, on the note of abilities, you know, for Ferndale, one way to overcome the hurdle that is West Branch heading into Route 66, which for Overwatch 1 players should be a very comfortable map for some of these kids. Kind of returning to our roots here in Route 66. See what I did there? I didn't even mean to do that, but you know, one thing that Ferndale can look to do is just make sure that, you know, they're using these cooldowns on all of the characters, you know, really creatively, really responsively, right? You don't necessarily want to react vehemently to what West Branch is doing. You want to respond with wit and calculus to how they're playing, and so that's what I'm excited to see Ferndale do here in Route 66. I think we're getting some changes though coming in.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a swap from Astro going over to the support line, as Layla Foxplay is going to be going onto the DPS, as we'll see what West Branch is going to be doing in a few short seconds here as well.
Okay, so changes across the board here for both sides. That's going to be a lot of fun. Get to see people on maybe off roles, or maybe we're seeing them on their main roles. And we've actually just been seeing off roles this entire time. For Route 66, that's I guess a little bit surprising to me. I would have figured that, we would all be pretty comfortable on all different roles on this map, but maybe it is rather that there's just a particular strength that both of these teams want to try and capitalize on, and that's a really good mindset to go into Route 66 with, a really good proactivity for both teams to enter this map with.
This is a full sale swap coming in from West Branch, actually.
Yeah.
They've moved the DPS lineup to support, so we're not seeing, I think, yeah, no, so, okay, no, never mind. So we've seen, so I think Fire Lord is on tank now. Baldiff is on DPS. The Game Slays, I think, is still sticking with DPS. Maybe not. Nyan Kiwi still sticking with support, maybe not. And DPS diff on support. This is just ruining everything. How can you be called DPS diff
if you're playing support
when you're on support? Okay, as the Game Slaves is going to be going over to support as well.
Yeah, that is the so the final one is Fire on tank, Ball and Nyan on DPS, Game Slays and DPS diff on support. So I think that you were right, Joker. We're seeing full swaps come in from West Branch. So invariably, you've got a number of people on their off rolls, which is always a positive experience. It's actually really important to learn how the other roles and other heroes play, what kinds of things they need, what kinds of expectations they have for them. It wasn't until I started playing Tracer that I became a better Zenyatta player. It wasn't until I started playing Lucio that I got better at tracking them down with the crazy frog movement, right? It wasn't until I started playing tank that I realized what kind of resources the tank need and at certain critical moments, right? So for West Branch here, as we talk about an ongoing narrative today about how hard work enables these teams to succeed, this is West Branch putting a little bit of work here and getting some experience in on those other roles, which is incredibly valuable. For Ferndale, it's going to be an opportunity to exploit any weaknesses playing off roles. DPS diff is certainly going to be not playing the full support play style. Definitely gonna see moments of aggression and damage dealing, and so that might be the opportunity for Matic, Gaming Bumble, Layla Fox play to come in with a really clean strike onto Firelord, who is on tank as opposed to on DPS. I'm sorry, support.
So maybe this is their grand scheme of things. Maybe because maybe Baldiff doesn't play, say, a diva.
Yep.
That could be what we're gonna be seeing from them. I just don't know the reason for all the other support changes. Maybe you like having your DPS on, say, Baptiste and Zenyatta. If they're gonna be going that route of things. As maybe I'm cooking up something here with that support lineup that I was definitely thinking is the reason, but no, DPS diff's gonna go over to Brig.
I don't know what this comp is, to be honest. It makes sense up until I don't know. I see a lot of sense in it, and I also see a lot of zaniness in West Branch's composition. So I guess I'll save my considerations for that until the match actually starts and we get to see this composition in action. For Ferndale, it's back on that solo queue ranked kind of composition, and again, I actually really like to see that comp because I loved watching it succeed the way that I got to watch it succeed against the MUOH Red Hawks in UB's early ESC season. So let's see if it finds the success I want it to. Matic punching over the top here, ending up in the back line. Not a bad spot to be in to go aggressive now with an empowered punch.
Yeah, as they're looking to get some work done. This isn't the first time we've seen like real superstar players from the TEC decide to off-roll and still work out well, because it's currently working out for them. I go back to the old Forest Hill days when it was Flip Stingray and I believe our very own Vaco going in wild on every role that they played on. As it's working out for them currently.
Oh yeah, they're able to hold this first corner. Cart's barely progressed, and when it does, it's only because one person is on it, having to kind of tenuously step on and off. There's a punch, an attempt to get someone over the ledge. Doesn't quite work there, and you got to be really careful because around this corner, it's a really good spot for the Dragons. That ball diff is currently very close to building.
Yeah, as Maddox still trying to make some progress, but hey, Baldiff, they're showing that, hey, maybe they are the better diff in the duo of West Branch right now, because they clearly can play everything at the moment, or maybe they're just a very good Hanzo player, but hey, it's still working out well for West Branch as they're holding out strong currently on point 1.
They got a lot of ultimates as well coming up very soon on 5 of them. They're also playing some really good matchups here into Ferndale. It's going to be hard to out damage the Brig map healing with even with Sim and May. You know, you're going to have to be wary of the long sightlines with Baldiff and the Hanzo.
Oh no!
And that was a really nice effort of Coalescence. It's just
oh my
kind of crazy with the Hanzo.
Yeah, that was just, as the Annihilation now comes in from Firelord to wrap things up. They did lose Baldiff in the end, but the meter strike now comes out from Matic, trying to change this back into the favor of Ferndale, but it does not seem to be the case as the Reptile coming in from Nyan Kiwi as well, looking for some damage. I don't know why they haven't found them yet. They're just kind of out in the open. The Junkrat Bear Trap comes into play there for the side of Ferndale. Still not opening things up just yet.
No, not quite yet, and that was you know, Ferndale and West Branch kind of using all of their ults. Gameslay's never got a chance to deploy the Implication Matrix, but hoping that they'll be able to get a little bit of value off of it this fight. Astro in the backlines does find DPS diff, which is incredibly meaningful, even if you have traded for Gaming Bumble.
Yeah, as they find a Fox play here with the pick onto Nyan Kiwi, like you were talking about. So that's a lot of damage now gone, and as Matic can get this pick on the Baldiff, that would be huge, and they do. They are able to get that. But in the meantime, while they're still trying to get that work in, they're not able to find more picks from the rest of their squad, as they're still being stalled out here on point 1 currently.
And there's about 25 seconds left in the bank as well. The Valkyrie's in action here from the I'm the Mad Lad, but Matic and Gaming Bumble are both incredibly low. Matic ends up going down, Gaming Bumble able to stay sustained, but now you're without your Doomfist, so the question that you're confronted with is how do we push? Really, the answer is no different than when we had the Doomfist. Gaming Bumble going over the top ropes, finding the Concussion Mine kill onto DPS diff, and once again, you're establishing trades here, but at least you're getting picks here, and that can be progress for Ferndale if they didn't have so many ults to walk into.
Wow, that was just definitely considered an alt fiesta there, Lord Ethan, as West Branch were able to hold on at the corner of point number 1, setting themselves up perfectly for a 2-0 in this series.
Yes, and it's kind of like the conversation that we had earlier with the Forest Hills matchup, the previous series was you know, by holding in a certain position, and this is the defender's advantage. This is why teams prefer to start on defenses. You know, by holding a certain amount, you know what your win condition is. You know, if you manage to hold the first point, you only have to push. What is this? 32 meters, right? If you let go of all 3 points, right, with 4 minutes left in the bank, you're definitely feeling a little bit dismayed, possibly in a way not so different than Ferndale might feel at not getting more progress. But you're also confronted with a very clear goal, which is beat them. Right? Beat their time. Push all the way end with their time. Ferndale, pull off the fuller hold, right? And so there's a little bit of optimism, a little bit of encouragement to be found in the fact that never before have our goals been so clearly illustrated for us by the golden box of victory there around the corner. I can barely see it here from this angle. But now the question is, how do we hold, right? And the answer is with this incredibly brawly, high sustain, high damage output composition here from Ferndale. They've got the right idea. They've defaulted from that solo queue ranked composition, and they've fallen themselves onto a little bit more of a constructed identity. I really like this look from them. West Branch is also going to be pumping out the damage. Not going to have a lot of sustain, but they've got a lot of pick-off potential.
This just reminds me of that composition. And it is that composition that you pick when you get full held and you want to be toxic and competitive. It was always the double shield composition with the Bastion Torb, with the Mercy and the Baptiste. And hey, it's working out well so far for Ferndale. They haven't moved the cart yet.
No, and again, Ferndale committing themselves to a specific identity is really good here because it means that they all know how they want to play. Now, Layla ends up going down. Oh, and the Mad Lad ends up going down too, so it might already be over here, Joker.
Yeah, that's it at all, as they're about to finish things up. And Baldiv does go down with and a nice hammer kill coming in as well from Gaming Bumble. It's looking good now. They might be able to get a last-second touch.
Yeah, that was actually a really important stall there from the resident Torbjorn specialists of Ferndale. No ultimates to come into this next fight with, but Matic is on the Winston, which means that you are, actually at this point, you're guaranteed to get a touch there. Expenditure of the bubble is a little bit imprudent, but the rest of Ferndale is here to support Matic. Oh, until they're not. Yeah, oh no, Joker.
Yeah, as I think that's really gonna be it. Nyan Kiwi fighting 2 picks with the Widowmaker, looking to wrap things up. It's just a Torbjorn left, and he goes sprawling in the sky as West Branch takes the map and the series and win in a 2-0 fashion.
Really good stuff from West Branch. I mean, the gameplay, you know, it doesn't ever not look clean, right? I think this was the shutdown on the Coalescence, maybe? I can't quite remember.
This is the end of the game, the end of their push.
You're absolutely right. You know, there's it's funny to see players standing still and shooting, but sometimes to hit your shots, that's what you've got to do. So there's a lot to respect about the patience from someone to simply stop moving, or stop doing, you know, whatever might be distracting to them, and just focus on the one thing that you got to do. And you know, again, not to be the or not to repeat myself too much, but you know, that's part of the compartmentalization of goals there, which West Branch did very effectively. Ferndale, the 2 things that I really liked from them was the solo queue ranked composition. It was just them playing the heroes that they wanted to play, because at the end of the day, Joker, that's what it's all about. It's just playing the game, and then as well the commitment onto a very solid identity for that follow hold. Would have had it, just got to clean it up a little bit more, the strategy, the execution, but what a fantastic idea from the Ferndale squad. So, you know, not too bad of a loss if I'm looking at the standings here. You know, that puts Ferndale at the 2-3. It keeps them in line with some of the other competitors, such as Forest Hills, and you know, depending on how things go with Shade here later this afternoon, might kind of even things out with that team as well. But we'll have to see on the other side of a break, Joker, because after that we'll have Greater Johnstown Trojans going up against the Shade squad again, and that's going to be a banger series. So you guys at home, go grab a drink. Don't go anywhere, though. Don't close out a Twitch stream. Don't you dare, because we're going to be right back on the other side.
Welcome back, everyone. After discussing some baseball topics in the back before going live with with one of our wonderful production people in the TEC, we're back and ready for the last game of the afternoon. Johnstown versus Shade Central, a battle of titans in the TEC high school series.
I mean, if the maps that both of these teams are anything to go by, then this is going to be a great series to close out on. You've got some really serious talent here stacked on both sides. We've already seen Shade's roster for today, but we're all too familiar with Greater Johnstown. Cherry Bloom on the tank role, River Galaxy and Cooper on DPS with Zeke and Game Genis on support. We've gotten to watch Greater Johnstown overcome barrier after barrier in the last, I think the last 2 seasons of the TEC High School Series, and they just always look better and better, and that's led them to this point where they can stand tied for first at 4-0 on the leaderboards or on the standings, and now they're going up against the number 5 seed Shade Central, who is really only number 5 because, like you mentioned earlier, Joker, they just haven't played as many games. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. Greater Johnstown looking to stay undefeated. Shade Central looking to say, let's continue padding our win rate.
Well, I mean, the last undefeated team that Shade Central went against was that Holidaysburg squad, and now you can see at that standings, they're not undefeated any longer. Is Shade Central looking to continue to play spoiler to these perfect seasons of these upper echelon teams? Can they do so here is the real question. As we start out on Antarctic Peninsula, as we saw earlier, the biggest thing is going to be, can they, when River Galaxy gets angry, it goes over to the Fara, can they keep that, can they keep them in check?
Well, and I think it was Shade Central that we saw earlier on, it was spots on the Echo on Antarctic Peninsula, and I've got to learn what these submaps are called. I still haven't. I coached this game, by the way. So it was on the map that we're going to actually be loading into that we saw spots on the Echo. So, the fact is that, like, if River Galaxy does end up wanting to play one of those flyers, I think spots are going to be in a great position, especially with the care and the synergy that they've been able to demonstrate with Roman Noodles. I think that they're in a really good position to help be the response to the DPS prowess of Cooper and River Galaxy. The compositions for this particular submap for this round are quite different than what we've seen in the past. Well, actually, really more for Johnstown than Shade, but we've seen Johnstown get a lot of value off of this very brawly, get in, get picks kind of composition. So against the structure and order of operations of Shade Central, I'm a little bit leery, but optimistic that Johnstown has what it takes to play this less conventional comp.
So I believe this one's called Labs. I definitely don't have the Overwatch Wikipedia page up right now. But I believe this is Labs, and, well, they're gonna go to work here, cooking up some compositions again with Cherry Bloom, who decides to continue to run this Roadhog, even though it's not really in the best position in the game, as it's as the Roadhog composition loses out early on.
Yeah, that was a really good hook from Cherry Bloom, though, to cancel Icy's punches onto Zeke, but and then after that it was just kind of inability to care Cooper there on the Sojourn. Not a bad fight to lose. It just means that we know how to play the next one.
Yeah, as they're going to come in here, some nice damage comes through. Spots on the Ash, not something that I was expecting to see here on Labs, but I mean, it's working out so far for them as River Galaxy finds not EQO out of this fight, but hey, Zeke does stray a little too far from the rest of their team, goes down to Icy's punches, the Annihilation comes through, a lot of damage is coming in, but so is a lot of damage coming in from Johnstown, as the whole hog now on the board as well, and they're going to be able to flip the point over into their favor because of it.
And right smack dab at the 50% mark. Now, Jerry Bloom does end up whole hogging Icy right into River Galaxy. A little bit of a spook there for the DPS player for Greater Johnstown. I like River Galaxy on this Cassidy. You've just got a lot of damage, a lot of firing power behind this comp for Greater Johnstown, enabling them to win that fight. Shade Central still only used the Annihilate in that previous fight, though. So the fact is that at 50%, you know, them losing just to come back in with 4 ults is still really powerful position.
Yeah, as they're looking to come in here now, Eco trying to set up with that absorbent amount of damage. They're going to use the artillery strikes. They're going to use the Bob to get back onto the point, and it's going to work wonders for Shade Central, finding all the picks they need and yet again getting the point into their favor.
Oh man, and Greater Johnstown wasn't able to get the 50% mark, which just would have been really satisfying to me, like the the oddly satisfying videos that I fall asleep to on the YouTube. That would have been like that. Here's your call. You kind of saw this coming, Joker. River Galaxy on the Pharah Trojan 1, which is Cooper on the Junkrat. So much damage, but also quite a bit of vulnerability here to not EQO and spots on these hit scan characters.
Yeah, as they're going to come in here early on, what a nice play comes in from Cooper already as GameGenix finds Usurper Draco. It's still even all around thanks to that pick from Icy, but it's still not enough currently for Shade Central to hold on as Johnstown come back. River Galaxy on the Pharah. The raid bus has been unlocked for Johnstown.
We're going to keep letting Cooper cook here on the Junkrat, but man, oh man, our Junkrat player is just a different breed. I do not understand how Cooper had that target mark. That was a pretty nutty pick to me. I'll tell you what I want to see here from the Barrage from River Galaxy, because yeah, let's talk about that. Let's just use it to shut down Icy. That's all you got to do is just kill Icy with a Barrage. Don't go for anything big or flashy here, which is exactly what River Galaxy is doing. Over the heads, found out by spots, barely sustained, ultimately eliminated.
Yeah,
Annihilation's coming.
Yeah, the Annihilation always comes for us in the end as Shade Central are looking to come back to this point. The whole hog there from Cherry Bloom, the Riptire, comes in, finds Usurper Draco in the midst of their coalescence, which is pretty big. They still have this barrage available for this fight, and they need to find a big pick off of it, especially on one of the spots who had the Bob available, but going down is River Galaxy before they can use that barrage. It's still looking good, though. They get the res, and now they're going to be able to use the barrage, and it's going to find 3. Everything they needed in the end. Johnstown take back the point.
There's no way that that's how this series starts off. That is absolutely wild, the things that both teams were able to get away with. You've got Shade playing, again, this very structured order of operations-based composition. Then you've got Greater Johnstown saying, let's just, I mean, they're definitely conforming to, to specific ability usages and ultimate combos and things like that. But, I look at a composition like Greater Johnstown, and the strategy that I associate with it is, let's run it down and see what happens, hoping for the best. And, for as harrowing as that strategy may be, it's tenacious as well. And that's exactly what we got to see from Greater Johnstown there in that round. Can they replicate it here on the next map, which I definitely know the name of, but we'll give you the luxury of saying Joker. We'll have to see.
I know this is an icebreaker, so I believe this is sub-levels.
Oh, yeah. That's the one.
Coming in here, so the Wikipedia page just has the list of the sections, not pictures of the sections. So,
so you haven't guessed.
I'm having to guess, but I do somewhat know from casting with far smarter people than myself that actually take the time to learn the sub-variants of every control map. But speaking of sub-variants of the map, Greater Johnstown is coming out on top for this one so far.
I really like River Galaxy on this Soldier 76. We talked a little bit about the Cassidy changes and how that kind of bumps Soldier up a little bit in the hit scan lineup. Actually, I think that this is probably the first time in Overwatch 2 that the hit scan lineup has all been pretty competitive with each other. Cassidy, Soldier, Ashe. Widow's the one who's broken, but that's a moot point. Needless to say, coming up close on the visor, this is going to be the fight to build it, maybe not use it though. I'm looking to see Johnstown be patient with ults.
That just reminded me of Samito tweet. But
yeah,
they're coming in here. Back in this, Spots is gonna find 2 picks with that Sojourn now. Again, another hero that's coming kind of the back burner recently. 2 other heroes says, oh, okay, Spots, do your thing. But yeah. That Samito tweet what you were talking about with Widowmaker just kind of being the only hero in the game that kind of just makes it unfun.
She falls in and out of the dialogue of she's unfun, breaks the game, and at times we really care about it, at times we don't. I like Samito, but don't let him cook. Don't let Samito cook, man. Let Johnstown cook, though. Coming up onto this point, River Galaxy back on the far F4 went to the Soldier 76 in the visor. Almost a nice hook there onto the high ground, but I think it did get Cooper killed. Yeah,
Johnstown are continuing to cook. I don't know what they're cooking currently. With this hog comp still being ran, it's working for them, but not right now as Shade Central have the upper hand. Yet again, the whole hog is going to come out, though. They're going to try to take them out as the pummel comes through. In the end, the Ravenous Vortex is their friend as Cherry Bloom goes back to spawn.
A little bit interesting to see the whole hog deployed there, and then not a swap come in. So this is just Johnstown being very committed to the composition, even when things go wrong, which is a confidence and a commitment that I actually really like. It's important to, if there's a comp that you run well, to just practice running it into every form of diversity. And so I really respect that about Johnstown. We'll see if their ultimate usage is also respectable here in this next fight.
Yeah, as they're going to come now here, and the Annihilation comes through, and that is going to be huge. Finding Game Gen X looking for more, as it's going to be continuing. Shade Central holding on to this point.
It looks like they might get this round as well, which it's not a huge disadvantage for Greater Johnstown, who were able to take that last map at 99%. Shade Central is clearly adjusting well to the way that Johnstown is playing, and it's showing right now by the conclusion of this fight. Lots of red in that kill feed for the current defenders of the objective, and I think that was a Moira fading into the backline that I just saw. No, she's on the objective against Cherry Bloom, the solo remainder. The solo remainder of Greater Johnstown. So that's the conclusion of the second round, but we'll be heading on to Icebreaker next, and I'm a little bit worried about that one, honestly, for both teams, Joker. I don't honestly know which strategy this map is a little bit better for Greater Johnstown or for Shade Central. I know that we've seen these ROM compositions kind of dominate here on the boat, but also Greater Johnstown, they're not going to struggle on this composition to break through that choke the same way you might struggle if you were running the ROM or Rush mirror.
Yeah, as it's going to be... again, we've seen Cherry Bloom work with the Roadhogs so much, and they've done so many good things with it. It's just continuing to maintain that level of success Cherry Bloom has had. I don't know. Is that possible as they head into Icebreaker here?
You're going up against a lot of opposition, not only in the matchups that you're playing as Roadhog, but also the fact that, players don't like him being strong, and so the devs kind of have to conform to that. So Cherry Bloom going to look to have the time of their life here, and we'll just see what they can do here. Let's just have fun, play what we want, make it work. Well, looks like we'll have to end up getting a pause in, though, here, as we have some technical difficulties. I'm going to sit up straight in my chair because I was fully leaned back enjoying the show. Yeah, so we will get the pause in here. Looks like we'll sort out some technical difficulties and then be able to jump right back in the game. I know, give it a nice big stretch, Joker. See, that first couple of rounds there was pretty tense.
Yeah, it really was, as they are going to... that's unfortunate. Spot's keyboard broke. I don't I've never gamed that hard that my keyboard has broken before. But hey, Spots is pretty good, so I mean, hey, it makes sense.
I mean, Spots is probably good enough to play without a keyboard, I imagine. You know, you just make it happen with the mouse, get your teammates to kind of push you by colliding into your player model, you know, onto the objective, into a nice, you know, little sniper nest, and then all you got to do, you know, we talked about standing still and aiming there. It seems as if Greater Johnstown has incurred similar technical issues because as we are looking for a replacement keyboard for Spots, we're also apparently looking for a replacement keyboard for one of the Greater Johnstown players who actually just bailed from the lobby, says, I can't have a good keyboard, so I won't play. That's not actually the dialogue that is going on, but so we'll have a little bit of time for that to reset. Joker, I think in the meantime, we'll go and throw it to a short break, and then when we come back, we'll have keyboards all fixed up, and we'll be ready to send the match back underway. Be right back with you guys.
We're back, everyone. Everyone's gotten their peripherals all sorted out as, uh-oh, what has happened to my setup? Everything's black.
Uh-oh, everything's black, but that's okay. I can still see everything. You've got Spots trying to go aggressive. Does find the pick on a game Genesis there, but Cherry Bloom in the meantime in the back line looking to be a menace onto the impending forces of Shade Central, who, you know, again, we're kind of at a deficit looking for keyboards there at the beginning of this round, but they're finding objective capture and maybe a little bit of progress. Cherry Bloom have that LOS, the assault configuration, as the rest of Johnstown kind of scraps along in this fight. So much attention on the tank, and that's freeing up River Galaxy to wreak havoc in the backlines. Spilled so close to coming up on that Death Blossom, and honestly, don't need it to win this fight. Greater Johnstown walking away with a dub. Very important one to secure. 45% in building now, Joker, and Shade Central definitely reasonable if they're getting a little bit nervous here. Oh, and it looks like it seems as if I've lost Joker. So you guys are just going to have to deal with me for the time being. 57% now, and you've got ultimates on standby for Greater Johnstown. Really, the Death Blossom. Shade Central coming up on their own here shortly. River Galaxy able to secure a pick here onto Spots, which is absolutely massive. That's so much damage out of the field, and it does force the revive from Roman Noodles as well. Coalescence invariably going to be deployed here by Usurper, but there's a massive hook onto Not EQO, dragging them unwillingly onto the objective. And the beat drops, as well as the Annihilation coming out from Icy, forces the Valkyrie just to sustain the tank here, which is impossible against the damage that Greater Johnstown is dealing. And now, you've really gone past that last team fight territory. You've still got ults in the bank if you're Greater Johnstown. You're about to walk away with a map 1 victory against Shade, the upsetters of the TEC High School Series. Not going to be able to upset this first map. Greater Johnstown walking away with a dub because of their commitment and refinement of this strategy. as well as perhaps the new keyboards. Oh, unlucky. Sorry, Joker. Hey, he's not back yet. That's what we heard from the booth. Really good stuff though from both teams. I gotta say, and you know, like I said, it's a combination of Johnstown just playing, owning the identity of their composition, and oh yeah, there's the black screen. We'll miss you, Joker. And then also, you know, Shade just going to be really having a really hard time on Icebreaker in particular. We've mentioned briefly today about how difficult that choke point is to really break past when you're going up against a particularly brawly composition who is currently holding the objective. You're not going to have to worry about those same kinds of choke points and checkpoints, though, heading into our next map. The next map type being the escort game mode, heading, of course, to Route 66. We've gotten to see it in the nighttime and in the daytime. And now I think it's just a toss-up as far as which one we get to see next. But it's an Overwatch 1 classic, a staple of the escort game mode. We're all happy to have it back in the competitive map pool, but we're even happier to have Joker back in the booth.
Yeah, I'm back. That was an experience. I've never had my entire setup just go black. I heard everything.
Oh,
I saw nothing. I guess if you look long enough into the void stares back or something like something. Something. Maybe? I don't know.
Something tried to drag you in.
Something tried to drag me in. But.
Eldritch Abomination.
But I'm back in the booth, and we're ready to go into Route 66. But fill me in here. Who won the first round?
Bro, Johnstown took first map, and honestly, the fights played out so incredibly close, like harrowingly so. But it was Johnstown coming out on top every single time, leading to kind of a definitive 100% to either nothing or very little. My memory in my old age already failing me. But Johnstown really put on like a really great show. They didn't change their comp either, Joker. So they just kind of committed to this identity. I don't think that we see things change from them heading into Route 66.
Yeah, we never really see them change identity. They always like to run Cherry Bloom again, still on the Roadhog. I don't know how. I don't know how it's continuing to work for Greater Johnstown. I don't know why it's continuing to work for Greater Johnstown, but they continue to let Cherry Bloom cook on the Roadhog, and they're cooking up something special.
Is this the moment that, like, I'm sad that Cherry Bloom is on console, so that, like, I'm never able to encounter them in ranked?
Oh!
I'm also kind of glad that Cherry Bloom is on console, because otherwise I have a guaranteed Roadhog pick for when they end up in my lobbies. Unfun when I have to play against Cherry Bloom's Roadhog, and maybe unfun when I have to play with it as well. I'm not sure. Greater Johnstown, you know, in the team environment, they're having the time of their lives, and it's about to get a lot more fun here with the close hold.
Yeah, as they're going to look to get this close hold underway, and it's working out well for him to start things off very much. His spots comes through, finds a pick on a Cooper, but it's going to be rezzed up, but they no longer have the res available for River Galaxy, who has, in fact, died to their own rockets. But still, they're holding on.
Yeah, holding on for now. And really, you know, the name of the game here is actually just to buy as much time out of the bank and draw as many resources, build as many ults as you possibly can. And, you know, what that window of time looks like is about 40 seconds here for Greater Johnstown, which I think is the record of today's matches for the amount of time being able to be held here at that close distance. Actually, no, I think, you know, West Branch might have actually taken that record for the day. Needless to say, Usurper, after being eliminated, is going to be brought back, restoring the attackers to full strength. And talking to full strength, Cherry Bloom and River Galaxy need a little bit of help to get back up to that level. River Galaxy, not going to be the case.
Yeah, River Galaxy's going to go down in the end as they're forcing them back. Currently, Cherry Bloom looking for an opening with the hook. They're not going to land it as they go down in the end. They're going to have to rotate back, but no, they're going to use the res on the Cherry Bloom, try to keep this point in their favor as the Ravenous Vortex comes through, the sound barrier as well, trying to keep everyone up and healthy as a whole hog comes through, but Cherry Bloom's the one to go down in the end as it's looking pretty good for Shade Central right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. You saw the whole hog and the sound barrier committed there from Johnstown, and Shade Central, all they needed to use to sustain in that fight was the Valkyrie. Naughty QO, I'm sure, has a plan with the artillery configuration, possibly score an early pick, opening up the second objective, but that's not going to be the storyline that we get to witness here so far. I gotta admonish, one thing that that Johnstown played so well, that Trey Bloom in particular played so well there on Antarctic Peninsula, was just the fact that they could kind of play an off angle and just sit there and wait for hooks to come in and just kind of poke and prod at the outer edges of the formation of Shade Central, as opposed to just jumping in and brawling it out, which isn't going to work here. So Cherry Bloom already kind of correcting the mistake that they had made on first point here, which is really encouraging to see.
Yeah, they're going to come in now. Trades coming in for both of the squads, but Johnstown are coming in on top for the moment. But hey, when I speak, things usually happen in reverse, but still, Greater Johnstown come out on top.
Yeah, they're going to be stabilized. And I also really like River Galaxy on the Soldier 76. Like, River, I know that it might not be your main hero, but, like, I really like the Soldier 76 from River Galaxy. And so every opportunity that I get to see it is going to be a really exciting one for me. What is Cooper looking to do here in the back lines of Shade Central?
Good question.
Oh, I believe.
They're going to find Roman Noodles now. The Riptire coming in. Going to connect to Icy as well. Not able to heal through that is the Coalescent, as Greater Johnstown are holding on still.
That was a nice direct hit. And now body blocked out. Spots is going to not make it. That's a stagger here for Shade Central, although a trade was established. Now nullified by the revive, but that's okay. For man disadvantages, we compensate with ultimates, of which there are many on both sides.
Well, I mean, there are many, but again, Johnstown don't really seem to need them right now, as they are able to hold out on that just on the back of 2 picks from Cooper.
Yeah, I was going to say lots of ultimates, but 1 Cooper, and I guess the latter is all that you need to win a fight. At least that played out as that one did. So this is an opportunity for Shade Central to reevaluate their approach and figure out how do we simply avoid the Junkrat spam, as that is the #1 counterplay to them.
What's the meme I saw all pro-am, the nuclear bomb versus the crying baby? Hey, now some ultimates are coming out here from Greater Johnstown. They find 2 picks, so like you said, a nice whole hog and nice tactical visor. The later ultimates are coming in for Shade Central, and they're finding picks, and River Galaxy finding themselves to their own grave with their Helix rockets. They might be able to hold on to this. The res is there, though, to keep them up and healthy, and they're juking and jiving around the point, but the pummels are there in the end to keep this point in the favor of Shade Central.
I think it's a point of contention, actually, how forgiving the hitbox is for Ramatra's pummel projectiles. My stance is that is as forgiving as the ability needs it to be, but definitely River Galaxy and Zeke are both thinking, man, it is dumb how big his punches really are, and Trojan's also feeling a little bit sour about how that engagement has gone, being staggered out. But I think that Zeke might have a revive to bring them back. You might see a touch here from Johnstown. Yes, you do.
Yeah, as they're going to come in here, the res is going to be on to Cooper, but the Annihilation's there, and Spots knocks him down with the Deadeye. One coming in as well from the Magnetic Bomb. The Annihilation finds the last one as Shade Central get the 2nd point unlocked.
There's a really interesting conversation we can have, Joker, about ultimates used over time and like what the advantages are, right? We saw the early Annihilation there from Icy that got whole hogged away. That's when the whole hog and the tactical visor, they're both very expertly cast from Johnstown, emerged, and Icy's able to build, because they used Annihilate there, they're able to build a very effective Annihilate here for this next point. As well, Trojan being proactive with the Riptire usages, able to find 2 now and be able to go back to building another one, which is so good here for 3rd point. Both teams really neither at an advantage or a disadvantage. It's just your typical Overwatch 2 Route 66 matchup between 2 teams who know what they're doing.
as they are gonna come in here now, looking to open things up more for Shade Central, but not EQO finding the grave from Cherry Bloom here. It is gonna be traded back though, but still, it's anyone's point, but it's still Shade Central finding these key picks, finding Cooper, the whole hog yet again doing some good work, but not able to still find out Icy. Icy's just getting the hard pocket from Roman Noodles. Now the Coalescence is coming in, as now they can come in, they can ingress at a very reasonable pace, but again, things just keep changing at the flip of a coin, the drop of the hat. River Galaxy finds 2, as it's still anyone's point. No one's coming in, and a movable object is coming in, as now the Annihilation, like you said, finally coming through, finally breaking this open, as the immovable object finally beat the unstoppable force.
But there was a lot of investment into that fight, Joker. So here for the last 13-second stretch, for Shade Central, they're looking at a little bit of a disadvantage. Bobs ends up getting cast on the objective. Simultaneously, Riptire is going to end up being used, and this is actually really good for Shade because despite losing their tank, they've got DPS ults to compensate.
Yeah, as they do use their Riptire. Cooper finding 1, now 2 off the back of just their normal little damage coming through, but it's still Shade Central getting the picks that they need, as they still have this cart in their back pocket, as it is in the overtime bar at the moment, as they're going to be able to continue pushing this through. Cherry Bloom's going to be able to get there, but can they stall for much longer? Their whole hog gonna be gobbled up by the defense matrix, as Shade Central complete all 3 points.
Very delicious is what Icy is saying. Not only about the whole hog that they were able to basically fully consume, but also getting all 3 objectives there on Route 66. Definitely feeling pretty good about that. It seems as if, once again, a little bit of a technical difficulty here from Greater Johnstown. We had Game Genist bail from the match. Definitely not the rage quit for losing all 3 points, because Greater Johnstown is looking to accomplish a very similar feat once we're able to hop back in the game. Joker, that was a really nice push from Shade, but they did it in overtime. You mentioned it there in that last fight. So, for Greater Johnstown, that means that the game is still very doable.
Yeah, it really is. As Game Genix did come back into the lobby, and it's a perfect time to leave the lobby. Obviously, no really worrying about ultimates being lost, which is always a killer when we see disconnects in these games. But now it's, it is overtime. It isn't hybrid, which is great for Shade Central, just in case Johnstown will, if they complete all 3 points, they'll still have a minute available, but they won't get any additional time, which, I mean, you get your push, but having that additional time is always better.
Oh yeah, 100%. So Johnstown really wants to push with as much time remaining, because no matter what, both teams in Escort will get a minute added on that time bank, right? If you get a 3rd-point push here from Greater Johnstown. So, there's a pretty sizable difference between 1 and 3 minutes. And sometimes there isn't. So it very much depends on the matchup, and that's why Greater Johnstown, and honestly good advice for teams in general, especially in a matchup as close as this one, is to simply not form expectations. Because expectations without the fulfillment of prerequisite goals, it just doesn't make sense. Not against a team like Shade, not against a team like Winburn, not against a team like Greater Johnstown, right? And so as Shade Central comes into this defense with the expectations that they can use this incredibly high damage output composition to hold here, it might end up being broken by a new identity from Greater Johnstown. Hey, yo, who is this new Cherry Bloom, and what'd you do with the original one? Where's my Roadhog?
See, I feel like we've seen them play Winston before, but it's always the last resort, because they always would prefer to play the the Roadhog. But hey, River Galaxy has already found 2 in this fight for the side of Johnstown. They do go in the end to a rail shot from Spots, though. It's still currently they're trying to buy their time. It's still not really opened up though for Greater Johnstown.
No, not quite yet. This is a long war of attrition, really, because both sides need to be looking at the supports here. And I like Cherry Bloom on the Winston here because you can drop a bubble and sever the lifeline to Icy, but Icy has so many resources as Orisa to sustain in this fight. So you really can't look at the Orisa. You have to go after Roman Noodles and Usurper Draco, who have basically taken very little damage this entire fight. I like the pressure onto not EQO, and that is a nice pick to secure here as well. Might open up this whole first point for Johnstown. Joker.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be the case. They might have a late second touch. No, that's not going to be the case, as they're going to try to take this fight at the Archway.
Ooh, a close hold here from Shade. Something different, something exciting, interesting, you could say, as the addition of Lifeweaver. Now I have found. No, actually, it's just kind of a... I think it's just scouting here from Shade. But they're scouting for a very important reason, and that is they've got 3 ultimates in the bank once Coalescence builds. 1 that was used, and we want to see how we can use these ults here.
Oh, they might not need those ults yet again for Shade Central because Spots is clicking heads with that secondary fire, but they are going to use it. The Terror Surge comes through as well from the sound barrier as that gets a burn down. 2 picks coming in for the Terror Surge and forcing back Johnstown.
Yeah, 2 picks, but 3 ultimates. So, you know that Shade is also kind of evaluating how expensive that fight was for them. Johnstown, was the beat really the key to survival there for them? No, ultimately you add the overclock topped on top of or coupled with the Terror Surge to get those picks. So could have saved the beat, but the fact is you've got 3 other ults, might be, because you've stopped off with Winston here. So 3 other ults to make something happen with.
Yeah, as they're going to come in now, not EQO finds Cherry Bloom, who has swapped over the Roadhog, as trades coming in all around, but hey, it's River Galaxy clicking heads in the backline, finding 1, 2, 3, knock them down, as that should be Johnstown opening things up, make it 4. Was it 5 all together? I don't know, but all I do know is River Galaxy just popped off.
Yeah, on the Cassidy. So it was, maybe me touting Soldier 76 like all point defense last round. Maybe I'm just making things up, and really we just need to see more Cassidy from River Galaxy, because I'll tell you, that did not look like nerfed Cassidy from this patch. That looked like 225 HP walk-in, get picks Cass, and now they've got 70% ultimate towards that Deadeye, which is a very nice ult to have for the second point.
Well, the good thing is they found Zeke out early on, and now they can set up on this high ground with... Oh, well, never mind. Now EQO's gone, so they can't set up on that high ground with the Bastion, as the overclock comes in from Cooper. Not going to find anything, but the Deadeye does find Roman Noodles, as it's still Johnstown pushing this objective at a very fast pace right now.
It's crazy, Joker. I am honestly not even entirely sure how Johnstown is swinging these fights, because they don't start out great for this attacking squad, right? I mean, they're losing people. You lost Zeke there first, right? And so you look at that. Definitely in my ranked game. So if I lose my Mercy first, I'm definitely not optimistic about the fight ahead. But Johnstown able to keep their heads in the game and make something happen out of that fight with the commitment, both DPS ultimates and some value attained off the Roadhog, which I love to see.
Yeah, as they're going to come in yet again with a nice pick with the Terror Surge came out from Icy. Not going to find the picks that they once did, thanks to the sound barrier coming in a little bit later from Game Genix, as they're still holding on to this point for the time being, as there's the damage coming out from Shade Central, finding Cooper out, forcing back Greater Johnstown now, as they're able to stabilize on the point.
Do I have the authority here on TEC to give awards? Because I would absolutely distribute an award for one of the best sound barriers I've seen in the TEC High School series from Game Genist right there with the combo of the Terror Surge and the Death Blossom. There is the Dead Eye, speaking of death, coming out from above, picking 2, although traded in the process. That is some really good space that you can make off that.
You know, they could, if they had us to grand finals, we could do superlatives, Lord Thiefin. That'd be so fun to do superlatives on land. But hey, right now we're talking about this game, and hey, look at that! An artillery strike finding 2 picks. What is this? And now they have this opening for Shade Central to come back into this fight and. Able to hold on. They have to hold on for 2 minutes though, and losing Roman Noodles not what you want, and especially losing Naughty. Okay. Just take off his head. Why don't you that River Galaxy? I mean, what are you doing? The Reaper going down, the supposed person that could never die. But hey, they died in the end there. Icy finding 2 with the Terror Surge.
You know, an extra 25 HP would have been nice there for River Galaxy. Definitely feeling the nerves from Cassidy. Coming in response to the Terror Surge. Now, that was still, once again, an expensive fight for Shade Central, but they have bled out those, I think it was about 3.5 minutes to now a little over 1. And that's so important here for the defense. This match is so close. You've got the the Death Blossom. Let's see if Spots is able to get something with it.
Yeah, let's see if things can open up for Shade Central here. That Death Blossom needs to be huge and needs to keep them in the fight. As River Galaxies finds out not EQO. Now Roman Noodles. This Death Blossom needs to be massive. It finds 1, knock him down 2, but not going to be enough. They have to get back to this point, and they have to get there quickly, but the Whole Hog's just going to force them away. As it's going to be a 29-second difference for Greater Johnstown in the end. That's a huge hold, though, from Shade Central coming in. They had over 3 minutes on the board.
Yeah. I mean, oh boy. Yo, someone send me the replay codes to this one after this match is done, because there's so much here that I would love to talk about that I simply don't have the time to do, and there's a lot of things that I've missed that are so important for, you know, exactly why Shade is playing the way that they are, why it's important that they're making the moves that they are, and same can be said of Greater Johnstown. This is an interesting matchup, and especially the fact that it's happening on an Overwatch 1 classic map is really good, because it means that these players who have been playing for quite a while are going to be able to lean into these comfort picks, these strong strategies that they've been practicing for years. Example being Cherry Bloom on the Roadhog. We're no stranger to this player on this particular tank, and then as well for newer players, this is an opportunity to experiment around a little bit and see what the comfort zone is here on Route 66. But you know, that time for trialing has now expired. That was to take place in the previous 2 rounds. Now we're heading into the overtime push, and the overtime hold here is what Greater Johnstown is hoping to accomplish here on Route 66. It's not going for the forward hold, even though I might actually press for it were I in their roster myself, playing things safe and then ready to brawl things out when the time is right. It's not a bad strat.
As they're gonna come in now, the D.Va's working out well for him. Hey, look at that. Trojan One's out of this fight already, and they're able to chase down the remaining bits of Greater Johnstown, forcing them back. It is a nice early fight win, though, so they're definitely going to have a chance to contest this.
I mean, Icy and Spawns at 53 and 55% ultimate for Generation, and then Roman and Usurper at 30 to 35. That gives you a really good idea of who's able to contribute in these fights. There's just no damage to heal, but there's lots of damage to do.
Yeah, the damage is coming out from River Galaxy this time, not Shade Central. Finding 1-2 picks as they do go down, but the res is there. They're trying to finish things out. The overtime bar is ticking away. It's still looking good for Johnstown. I think they've set themselves up for a date with victory.
Quite possibly. But now they're going to have to push as far, and even though they have a whole 29 seconds more than Shade Central had, it is only 29 seconds. It boils down to being everything and being nothing at all. And right now, these teams are going to make themselves everything or nothing at the conclusion of this series. You know, this isn't the playoff games quite yet, but this might as well be just as meaningful for Greater Johnstown to not slip out of that tied first seed, for Shade Central to get themselves into a better position to face an opponent that maybe they prefer to fight or would fare better against. This is an incredibly meaningful moment here in an incredibly meaningful series. So, you know, all alerts are blaring. Awareness is as high, or should be as high as it's ever been for all 10 of these players to make something happen here on this last round. Shade Central going to be opting for the defense. I like Icy on the Diva. We've gotten to see a little bit earlier this afternoon. Intermittently, we've seen Diva in the TEC High School Series, and it's always an absolute treat because she is a hero who can just do so much. You've got an EQO on the Ash, which is honestly what I figured Spots would be on. But Spots taking up the mantle of our favorite Omnic Sentry Bot is going to be a pretty entertaining one to see, especially considering that this synergy here on Sage Central with Roman is with Spots. So you're also looking at changes to the way that the Mercy is being played. Cherry Bloom, once again, on the Winston. It worked last time. Why shouldn't it work this time?
Yeah, that is the good question. If it's not broke, don't fix it, Lord Ethan. And it was not broke previously, and it's still not broken, is River Galaxy's aim on Cassidy. They do lose out Cooper, but the res is going to be there, and I think River Galaxy has set themselves up for the victory in the end. They're continuing their undefeated season, Lord Ethan, as River Galaxy as company escorts the cart to the end.
Man, congratulations to Greater Johnstown and an undefeated regular season. And this is the kind of performance that we're looking forward to watching in the playoffs, not just from Greater Johnstown and, of course, River Galaxy, who you know, just for better or worse, depending on which side you worked, you kind of went unmarked for too long in this particular map. But for Shade Central as well, you know, we've finally gotten to watch more of them, Joker. And that is so cool because I'm beginning to see, you know, the big picture coming together of you know, this being an opportunity to revise and iterate on the strategies that they've developed in the regular season behind the scenes, off the camera. And that gives me a really good preview into what we can, and so the kinds of action we can see for the playoffs, especially considering, Joker, that, you know, we know the map pool for the playoffs. You guys don't yet. You'll find out soon. But you know, I think a great showing today from all three of the series this afternoon.
So I don't actually know what River Galaxy's like, what grade they're in, but if you're not keeping a lookout at River Galaxy for collegiate next year, if they are a senior, I mean, if you were, you're a coach, you're a collegiate coach. I mean, if you could get him on your program, I think you would I'd
take it.
Definitely take that opportunity. I mean, we just saw him pretty much dominate an entire lobby on the Cassidy, and then he's also really good on a lot of other heroes. So,
yeah.
I mean, collegiate coaches, if you're not watching the TEC High School Series, if you're not watching high school esports in general, to maybe look at picking up players that are going into seniors, I don't know what you're doing. There are so many great players, and River Galaxy, one of those for Greater Johnstown.
Oh yeah, and you know, that's a narrative that was a little bit core to the identity of one of Forest Hill's previous iterations. You know, as well as invariably, you know, there are people to look for. Maybe Poach from Shade and West Branch, and you know, if I ever need a Doomfist player, you know, Matic. I'm thinking about Matic from Ferndale. So just throughout all the teams, there's so much talent to pick and choose from. I absolutely agree with you, Joker. If you're not spending your time with us, whether you're a coach or a caster or you're just a fan of Overwatch, if you ain't spending time with us here on Wednesday afternoons, then you got to find a better way to use your time, as me and Joker have found. But unfortunately, Joker, that's all the time we have today.
And no, we don't get to see you guys next week. We are going to be back the week after that, though, with the first rounds of playoffs. I'm super excited. We get to see our map pool come to the forefront of the games, and hopefully it makes for some fun and interesting games for that. But that's going to be it for me and Lord Thethan for this week. See you all around. See you in 2 weeks for the start of the TEC playoffs.